I hope you all have been living La Vida Loca. Welcome back to Lynn's Corner, and I hope that you all are having an awesome time. Today, guys, I'm going to be talking about being a person of influence. So, before I get into my video, if you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. Just subscribe and turn on the notification button, and let's just have fun and grow this channel. Yes. So, like I said, today we're going to be talking about being a person of influence. So, when I talk about being a person of influence, I'm talking about being a person that actually inspires others to do good, inspires others to love Christ, inspire others to actually want to be Christian. And to do this, guys, I'm not talking about having fans or having a lot of people follow you, but I'm talking about impacting the people that are in your sphere of content. When I talk about the 13 things that I'm going to be doing differently this year, I will be referring to the Bible, because where else can I refer to? Like, it's not even, I don't even need to explain that. The Bible is filled with ordinary men and women that were people of influence. One I can think of that was actually mentioned specifically in the Bible in James 5, it has to be, was Elijah. James actually says that Elijah was a man with a nature like ours, and yet he prayed and stopped rain for 3.5 years, and then he prayed again and it rained. I found it so unique that he had to mention that he was a man like us. Sometimes when you read the Bible, these guys, they just seem, we are supernatural, just by the way, but they just seem like they were on, like sometimes you can actually just be like, this has to be a story. I mean, think of David and Goliath. Like, it's nice for us now to sort of kind of like look at it and say, yeah, a Goliath can be a financial challenge, can be, but this guy was faced men to men, giant to boy. Like, that's how it was. So when I talk about being an influence, I'm talking about those kind of things. You know what, one thing that I have realized is a lot of people that are doing the right thing, that are on a larger scale, like doing the right thing, there's so much persecution. The Bible tells us that we are the light of the world. There is so much darkness in the world. There's so much death right now. There's coronavirus that is just bringing fear into basically the world. There's so much crime, there's so much new types of crime that are coming that you're just like, what, how do people think about this? There's so much darkness in the world, and we are the light, we are the influence that can change people's lives. And when I talk about people, I'm not talking about, you might want to think of people that are like all over the world. Yes, we are called to the world, but I'm generally talking about influencing people around you with your character, with your speech, with the way you live, guys. And this is something that is so personal to me because I'm working on that. And yeah, I mean, in Timothy, Paul talks to Timothy and tells him, do not let people despise your youth, but be thou an example in speech, in character. Like, be an example, be a person of influence in the way you live, in the way you speak, in the way that you do your thing. Like I was saying previously, that those that are actually being examples on a bigger scale, especially like in Christianity, there's so much persecution. Whoever tries to say whatever, they're called fake, they're told they're stealing people's minds. So much is going on, and it's so easier for a person to just hate on these people without actually experiencing it. But we're the ones on the ground, we're the ones that can show people that Jesus is real, Jesus is there with our own lives. It might look like nobody watches you, it might look like nobody knows you, but trust me, the Bible tells us that we are like a city on a hill, we cannot be hidden. They can try to hide you, you can even try to hide you, but if the word says you're like a city, then you're like a city. I can think of a certain man of God who I had never heard preach before. I never even had any experience. I never met him, I never, nothing, but I hated him. Like, I'm not talking about dislike, I'm not talking about not wanting to hear about him, but totally hate him in such a way that when I finally met someone that actually listened to him, I would walk out of the room whenever I knew it's him who's about to preach, or whenever, like, I just sensed that he's gonna speak in this place, I would walk out. And imagine this was because based on information I'd received from somebody else who had received that information from somebody else who had, so it was just like a chain of information. And it was also because personally I hadn't actually met someone who had been influenced by that man of God, or somebody who knew better, or somebody who was living better at that point in my life. But then I then met another person that had been influenced by this man of God, that was living a life that had a testimony from hearing his words, and that totally changed my perspective. So that's what I'm talking about, guys. Influencing people to know that Jesus is real. I'm not talking about influencing people to follow a certain pastor or follow a certain doctrine, but for somebody to know Jesus for themselves, no matter the church that they go to that obviously has sound doctrine. But I'm just basic, that's what I'm talking about. Guys, we are the light of the world. We are called to live a life that reflects the life of God. Paul was one such a man who had such influence that he was able to tell the disciples of Jesus at that time to say, follow me as I follow Christ. That was a man of influence, because you can only say that if you know, and you know that you are living right, that you can influence people to do the right thing. Like I said, guys, the world is filled with so much darkness. There's so much happening all over the world. When you just go on the news, there's so much negativity. It's rare, really, it's rare to go on the news and find something positive. It's rare. And if it's positive, it's just like a small positive that is clouded with so much negativity. Especially now with coronavirus, if you just look on the news, there's so much death just going on. 163 people died there, 1,000 deaths. Why, like, this crime, this gang crime, this whole thing, guys, it's just, and you can change someone's life by just choosing to be a person of influence. So I hope, guys, that by watching this, you've been inspired to at least know that your life means something. These days where we have the world at our fingertips, you can even influence people in countries that you've never been. I really want to be that person that actually just accepts the responsibility of being someone of being a person of influence, and just living that way, and just making sure that my life is exemplary, so that one day I can also be like Paul and say, follow me as I follow Christ, follow me as I do good, follow me as I live the right way. And it's a fulfilling life, I am certain of it, because then there wouldn't be such a burden in me to actually want to do it. So guys, in 2020, things have been done differently. I mean, if we think about the greatest men alive today, yeah, I'm talking about Jesus. If we think about him, he has so much influence that even till today, I mean, they have tried, guys, even in the days just after his death, they tried to make sure that the disciples don't talk about him. They still try today in so many countries, even in those countries where they accept Christianity, even in some places where they say they are Christians, they try so hard to put him down, to not have him said. But one thing that we know is he lives, and the church is growing. And so being a part of that growth is something that is fulfilling. And yeah, guys, like, person of influence, yeah. So I hope that you all enjoyed this very short video, and that you will be back with me on Tuesday for story time, because Tuesday is now story time most days, just to like not keep this too serious, actually. Yeah, so I'm just gonna be alternating with story time. And I hope that you all enjoyed this video, and if you still haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.